The Celtics Talk podcast is presented by 24autogroup.com. 11 locations across New England.
We all know the 40 before 20 rule in the NBA, right? The idea that if a team wins 40 games before getting their 20th loss, they are legitimate championship material. I believe it was Phil Jackson who coined this criteria. So what do we say about a team that is 60 before 20? Because that's what the Boston Celtics have done. With a 135-100 win over the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Celtics are now 60-16 on the season. They have secured the best record in basketball. They will have home court advantage for the totality of their postseason stay. They are trending towards one of the most successful teams in Celtics history. We've run through this before, but let's recap. 72-73, 85-86, and 07-08 teams are probably the only teams that will end up ahead of them in terms of wins. They can still catch the 07-08 team at 66 wins, but would need to win out. And let's face it, they're probably going to downshift a bit here at the finish line. But if they get above 63 wins, they will slot fourth all-time, which is a pretty remarkable accomplishment when you consider that the three teams in front of them are largely regarded as the best three teams in Celtics history. Right now, the Celtics, I believe, are fourth overall in point differential all-time. I believe they just shuffled ahead of the 2017 Warriors, are slightly behind the 96 Bulls. It always helps when you win games like this by 35 points. You'll be kicking yourself a little bit about those Hawks games that you fumbled away because that could have helped get to the finish line of one of the most dominant seasons in NBA history. I bring all this up because there are moments throughout the season that I've sort of had to step back and say, like, man, we're watching something special here. And I think we know when we're watching it that this team is supremely talented, that they have championship potential. And we also know that ultimately they will only be judged on what happens after all this regular season success. So that if they don't translate it over, it won't matter. But sometimes you do have to sort of step back and be like, man, what they're doing is just not normal, that it deserves to be appreciated. We run the East standings in our postgame show, and you see that no other team has clinched a spot yet, beyond the play-in, and the Bucks are like 13 games back, and it's just astounding how dominant the Celtics have been. I think the record is like 15 games is the most a team has won the Eastern Conference by. I don't think the Celtics are going to sit here and play to win just to get some of these records or get one of the best records in team history, but they put themselves in position to just etch their name in the history books based on the totality of their domination this season. It's part of the reason why when they ever so often lose their mind or lose their way and lose a game, we tend to overreact to it because it's just so jarring compared to what they're capable of. Even a night like this, the Celtics, to manufacture motivation, Joe Mazzulla tells his team, we're going to treat this like a closeout. Let's pretend like we're up 3-0. We're trying to finish this thing off. And against a team missing two stars, when the natural inclination might be to downshift, to maybe not be as locked in and focused, especially coming off a long road trip and playing that first game at home, the Celtics find a way to at least, when things got close in the third quarter, have a little motivation to put that foot back down on the gas pedal. It's hard to believe, but this was a 5-point game, 77-72 with 4:41 to go in that third quarter as the Oklahoma City Thunder were getting a bunch of whistles. And then 58-28 from there, 25-7 to start the fourth quarter. Celtics just absolutely motor away to another lopsided win, their 60th of the year. What's up, everybody? Postgame Pod 76. Celtics now have only one team they have not defeated this season. How ironic. It's the Denver Nuggets, who, if you were maybe a betting man, you would suspect is the most likely finals opponent for the Celtics, based on not only the success of both teams this season, but given Denver's championship status and what I suspect will be a very motivated Nuggets team when the playoffs go. Oklahoma City, obviously, we didn't see the full version of themselves tonight without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Jalen Williams, but boy, were they'll be in the mix. They were pretty feisty even without those guys. But yeah, they're still young, and I'm eager to see how exactly it plays out for them in the postseason. Same thing with Minnesota, more experience there, but and certainly a defensive backbone. Just feels like Denver is more likely to emerge just based on their experience and the totality of their talent. But like the West is going to be super fun to watch play out, and certainly those standings are far more muddled than what we see in the Eastern Conference. A couple other things from this game. Jaylen Brown comes out afterward and says, does have a strained ligament in the left hand. It's a little bothersome. I do hope the Celtics trade cautiously. We've seen them exercise great caution with players like Kristaps Porzingis, who was fantastic in this game and about as much as in rhythm as we've seen post All-Star break. It's encouraging to know that the Celtics can get back to really sort of force-feeding him and taking advantage of mismatches when they're there. And that's something that they need to keep in mind more as we move into the postseason. And Porzingis being in a rhythm on those shots is encouraging. But if Jaylen Brown, who, by the way, pretty much was the one who shredded this game open because he was dominant on both sides defensively and offensively early in the fourth quarter, keys a 25-7 run by a lineup that hasn't played a lot. It's essentially Boston's top six minus JT. So we all know the story there with non-Tatum minutes being a little bit of a problem at times, even though the Celtics have certainly been better at it this year. But interesting that group that had only played 34 minutes was a -3 before. Hadn't really played. I think they had like 20 total minutes in calendar year 2024. For that group to get some run early in the fourth quarter, I don't know how often you'd go to that. But certainly it's like an intriguing little lineup that if you just needed to weather some non-Tatum minutes, having all those other starters and a veteran like Al out there and be able to suffice with it, really encouraging. I mean, that group is shooting 65% from the floor, like 68% from three. A lot of offensive firepower even when Tatum's not out there. So the bottom line, to sum this all up, Celtics are good. This is why you come here for this hard-hitting expert analysis. But maybe it's just a reminder to appreciate it. I don't know how much more we'll see of the main cast here moving forward. It's hard to envision. It's even teams like Sacramento coming in on Friday night. We'll talk about that in a little bit. They've got motivation. Portland on Sunday. But I do wonder, just where this thing ends up and where they will slot ultimately among the best Celtics teams of all time. Can't truly answer that question until the playoffs come and we see what happens and if they get a banner and all the extenuating circumstances among it. But as far as regular season teams go, 60 before 20, it's pretty damn impressive. All right, let's get to more of our postgame show.
Abby standing by with Kristaps Porzingis right now.
All right, Kristaps, you guys clinched the best record in the NBA. How does that sound?
Sounds pretty good to me. We worked hard all season long, and yeah, we deserve it.
Some great ball movement out here tonight. Beautiful dimes. Your touch pass was one of my favorites. How prepared do you guys feel as you are inching towards the postseason?
Thank you. We feel good. I think now everybody's healthy. At the right time, we have a few games left, and we want to finish the season strong, no matter who we're playing against, and head into the postseason with the right mindset.
For you specifically, the line you had tonight, only one other Celtic has done that. That's Robert Parrish. It's also the 13th straight game that you've scored at least 17 points. Is this the most consistent you've played, the best you've played in your career?
I don't think so. To be honest, I don't think so. I haven't shot the ball great, except for tonight. Tonight I got back on track. But I look to have everything clicking at the right time. I'm excited for that, and I want to finish the season strong and head into the postseason.
Finally, how nice was it to get back here to TD Garden? It looked like you were having so much fun out there. You were smiling all night.
Yes, no, I mean, this is the best place to play basketball in, and especially after a long road trip. Of course, we have our fans everywhere, but there's no place like playing at home, and I enjoyed this game so much.
Hey, Pete, thank you. Congrats.
Thanks.
I love how honest he is, too, there, Eddie. Just you're talking about the number 1 overall seeds. Like, yeah, we deserve it. Yeah, they do. And, clinching that top seed with a handful of games to go here in the regular season is, again, it's the Celtics the first time that they've clinched the number 1 overall seed across the NBA since 2008 when you guys went on to win the championship. And sticking back with Porzingis, though, I mean, it was the 27 points, 11 of 14 from the field, but also the 5 blocks. And he had a couple right at the rim that kind of changed things and kind of changed the momentum in this game.
Yeah, and he's been doing that all season long. He's been the rim protector. He's been the back line of our defense. And whenever somebody gets beat, as great as we are on the perimeter on our defense, we got him on the backside, and people are worried about him. And he's being modest. He's saying he thinks – I wouldn't say he's being modest. He's not being truthful in one thing. He said this is not the best he's been playing in this stretch. Well, it's the best he's been playing in a stretch to where it's meaningful basketball, to where you have an opportunity to do something special. So, relishing that moment, and I'm so happy for him because I know what he's went through. Being the guy in New York to where they thought that he was going to change that franchise, then the experiment in Dallas, and then going and getting in Siberia in Washington and coming to, basically basketball heaven, the Boston Celtics, and having the opportunity to play with the guys he's playing with and have fun doing it. I love everything that's going on for Kristaps Porzingis because there's been a lot of doubters and naysayers saying things that, is he a rebounder? Is he tough enough? Is he a rim protector? That's not going to put them over the top. Well, all season long, he's been showing that he is a guy that has actually elevated everything that we do night in and night out.
Yeah, Scal joining us now as well. And Scal, what are your thoughts on Kristaps Porzingis, seeing him also get 27 tonight, 11 of 14 from the field, just as efficiently as he played, and also the defense around the rim?
Efficient role where he gets to switch and he just goes to work right over the guy. There's nothing the defense can do about it. Defensively, pursuing the ball, getting these big-time blocks. Yeah, Porzingis was awesome today. And then you add in the fact that he goes 3 for 3 from 3. I mean, it's a matchup nightmare. And I was, kind of watching this game saying, I wonder why coaches haven't changed their defense against them. They don't want to fly around and give up the Celtics threes. I think they're okay with him shooting that shot. And in the playoffs, he's going to have big moments when he's doing that. So if he gets to switch, because that's what teams do, or blitz, he's going to make guys pay. So I'm looking at it from a short-term standpoint today, but I'm also, I think all of us are kind of looking towards the playoffs. And Porzingis is going to be a real problem for a lot of people.
Yeah, and speaking of the playoffs and the fact that the Celtics clinching the number 1 overall seed, which was it was inevitable. But last time it happened was 2008. You guys were both on that team. I don't know if you can remember that moment when you guys knew that you're going to be the number 1 overall seed across the NBA, but what does that carry, Eddie?
First off, we knew we was I almost said the wrong word. We knew we.
I know you were going to say.
Yeah, I know you do. We understood where we was at. You know what I'm saying? So there was never a doubt in our mind what we were trying to accomplish and where we was going to be at. And I think this team has that same mentality, though. I think they understand from, the time that they went to the finals and lost that to last year, losing in the conference fight, and then coming back this year and being rebooted. I think they understand the task at hand. And when you understand it, it don't have to be talked about. You just go out there and handle business night in and night out. And that's what this team has done. Now, they have had times where you they let go of the rope. We say that, but a long 82-game season, we weren't perfect either. But one thing we can say that night in and night out, when you look at it, at the record, the totality, everything, we was out there certified ass kickers.
I just think it was amazing today that they were practicing some of their sets against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that just shows you how good they were. And they won by 35. I mean, that's but, you know, we know the Celtics are good. They can defend. I don't think the number 1 seed means anything. Like they're not going to pop, you know, bottles or anything like that from doing that. But I do think it's a heck of an accomplishment. And, you know, me and Eddie, we love that bread. And so when you got the best record in the league, you get a little bonus. You know, everybody in the 08 team, we love that bread.
Get that extra cheese.
Whatever it is, man, whatever it is, we love it.
Hal, that third quarter run you mentioned, it seemed like they came out strong. You guys kind of stabilized, and then you hit them with your big punch. What goes into kind of like that process of, all right, stop them, start answering, and then throw your haymaker?
Yeah, well, I think it was key. Peyton coming in the third quarter. He came in, and I feel like just kind of changed the momentum of the game with his energy, and that was the start of it. We went out there, we made some runs, we got some stops. He got after the ball with his ball pressure, and then to start the fourth, I thought it was key, you know, for us to come out and not play games and like really take it to another level. We made him call the timeout, and then at that point, it was like, we got to take it to another level. So for those next 3-4 minutes, we were able to win those minutes, and I think that's obviously that separated us. But it was the mindset. It was the mindset. Everybody at the start of the fourth, we were all locked in and really trying to put the team away.
Al, real quick, Jaylen has said it was a goal of his to make the all-defense team this season, and just how much growth have you seen from him on that end, and what does him taking on those challenges do for the rest of the group?
Well, it inspires the rest of us because he does a lot on the offensive end, and then he wants the responsibility on the defensive end. And a lot of people say they may want those challenges, but he's facing all types of different players. He's guarding Steph Curry, he's guarding Zion, you know, just different guys that he has to match up against. And you know, just being very unbiased, very clear, like he's first team all defense. Like, you know, like there's just no, you know, you look at what he's doing individually and the impact that he has on the defensive end. It's, you know, we're one of the best defenses in the league, have the best record. He deserves to be in that position.
Clinch the best record in the NBA. Is that something that you mention to the guys? Do you celebrate that at all with them? And what is the message going forward?
Yeah, I mean, if celebrating is as much as bring it in, shake everyone's hand and say, you know, don't take it for granted, then yeah, we celebrated it. I think it's important to not take it for granted. I think it's important to have the gratitude for that. It's very hard to do. You know, we may never be in this position again, so you don't want to take it for granted. So yeah, we definitely talked about it as a team. Talked about it before the game, trying to treat this game as like the clincher, so that to kind of put that on ourselves to be able to do that. I think it was important for us to simulate that. And, you know, it's just a testament to the guys. And so we should enjoy it tonight, and we wake up tomorrow, you know, nobody cares. So just going to get back to work.
Hey, Jaylen, first time in your career, team's accomplished 60 wins. What does that mean, along with best record in the NBA clinched?
It's just it's an honor. It's a blessing to be on a 60-win team. It's a lot of hard work that went into that, especially after, you know, coming up short last season, you know, responding, coming back, and not skipping any steps. So I think we're on track. 60 wins. When the playoffs start, is back to square one.
And how did you see your game tonight? It seemed like you stayed engaged throughout the game, despite the fact maybe things weren't going for you on the offensive side.
I feel like I had a game tonight. Just wasn't feeling my best, but luckily we're on a great team that, you know, we found ways to win. But definitely feel like I played a little better in the fourth. Felt a little better in the fourth, but, you know, just a tough night.
Jaylen, you guys went up by double digits in the second. They made their run, and then, like you said, you had a big fourth quarter, and you guys sort of ballooned that lead out. What is it about this team, and that's been a trend this year, what is it about this team that's so good at sort of like responding to runs and just ballooning these leads so rapidly?
Well, I think it's just we are extremely talented. I think we well coached as well. So, you know, you put those things together, you know, you're destined to have some really good games. They had some players out, you know. We try not to take our foot off the gas. We was able to pull away towards the end.
Jaylen, you've talked a lot about recommitting the defense this year. Obviously, you've had a big year on that end. How much has it just been the recommitment and the focus on that, and how much has the coaching staff kind of put you in the best position to succeed within the system this year?
I think it was more so of an emphasis on my part. I think I've always been a good defender, but we've had over the years some guys that took majority of the matchups, like Smart, and it just, I guess allowed a little bit of comfort. So this year I wanted to reemphasize that I was going to be the one that was taking on those matchups, and regardless how I'm feeling, the defense has always been there for the most part this season. Even tonight, where I didn't feel my best, I feel like, being able to create plays and stuff on defense. So, I think just this whole season, man, it's just been an emphasis on my behalf. And, it wasn't nothing the coaches said or did or anything like that. I think it was on me.
Jaylen, what you're observing, is that affecting, sometimes that affect your physicality or how you feel with Ramadan? Is that just sometimes hurt physically, affect you?
No.
And then when you have a game, the first three quarters, what keeps you engaged? What says, okay, Jaylen, I'm not going to play this bad in the fourth quarter, play poorly. I'm going to bounce back in the middle of a game like that. What pushes you to do that?
Just mental fortitude. I think, just preparing your mind for the challenges to come. You might be in a playoff game where you're not feeling well, you're banged up, your hand hurt or your back hurt or whatever the case may be. And nobody around here wants to hear no excuses. So, and tonight, was a good opportunity to kind of prepare for some of those moments. Things not going your way, stay locked in, and the tide may change at any given time, any given point.
Jaylen, you mentioned your hand, and you told us, I think in New Orleans, you were going to have it looked at. You were questionable tonight. Did you have it looked at? What were the results, and how did it feel tonight?
Yeah, I think I got a sprain or, a strain on a ligament in my hand, but I think it's fine. It's something I'm not concerned with going forward, but it bothered me a little bit tonight, but part of it is, working through it, playing through it, because that gives you a little bit more information towards down the line if, things were to get any worse, but I think it's nothing to be concerned about.
All right, like I said, Celtics back in action on Friday night, hosting the Sacramento Kings, who are sort of in the mix of all the chaos in the Western Conference, trying to avoid the play-in game. A little bit more of a roller coaster this year. Kings were a feel-good story last year with the light the beam and all the success they had, and then drawing the Warriors in the playoffs. So they're going to have motivation, whereas the Celtics will, again, need to manufacture something. Joe's going to have to be creative in how he motivates the guys down the stretch. I do think you can sort of count on the bench guys if you got to lean on them a little harder and give Jaylen a break or protect Kristaps in instances. There's going to be opportunity for those guys to kind of get extended run. If I'm one of the bench players and I know my minutes are uncertain in the postseason, or if I'm just trying to make a final impression, I feel like there's pretty good opportunity here to just remind Joe Mazzulla what you're capable of. Hopefully guys like Tillman can get more time out of the court. There'll be opportunity for Luke and O'Shea and everybody else, just to even if it's just a break in case of emergency guys at the end of the bench. But Celtics got to find a way to kind of navigate these last few games, keep some motivation, and just ultimately finish with the sort of momentum that can propel them into an uncertain playoff path. We don't know how that's all going to play out. A lot of volatility with the play-in, Embiid back with Philadelphia. What happened with the Heat? Does Indy hold on? So we'll be monitoring it all down the stretch here. We are scheduled to have an off-day pod tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. We'll be back with you on Friday night here on the PostGame Pod. Go like, subscribe, check us out on the YouTube page. And again, take a minute to just step back and be like, man, this team is good. We'll talk to you next time on the Celtics Talk Podcast.